Hello, this is Greg Allison, Green Greg's, coming to you on 3DEC 21. Time on deck is 16:38 hours Central Standard Time. And we're going to talk about America. America, a land that I love. Not so much because of the government, no. Because of the people in it, what it represents, what this country should be, has been, and can be. Now, and that's saying a lot. This country represents a lot. Now, a lot of people complain about this country. They complain about this, that, and the other, and some people, especially Americans, American students, are convinced that this is the worst country that ever existed on the face of the earth. Well, there's good, bad, and ugly in our past and in our future, I suppose. But we're going to talk all about that. But for just a second, let's just kind of get the idea here. We got a beautiful sunset going on. The sun's already went down. You got to smell the roses sometimes and look around. What you see here is freedom at work. Aside from that cat out there in the middle of my garden bed and my onions. This represents a freedom to pursue one's dream. You know, I had a dream that I could do something on my own 2 acres. I could stand on my own 2 feet on my own 2 acres and make a living. And I'm working to realize that dream. In many nations, you can't do that. You never could do it. You never would have the opportunity to do anything like that. You got money or not. And I've also covered how you could start a farm for $500 basically in one of my videos. So, guys, sure, it's true. There's been atrocities committed under the United States of America. And a lot of people who are against us think that we need a big socialist government and all these trappings that they think will make this country better. Well, the problem is most of these atrocities were really committed under the auspices of big government. That's how this country committed a lot of things it shouldn't have done. For example, you know, like the overthrow of an elected president of Iran back in the 50s to install a puppet, the Shah, who was anti-Russian, just because he was anti-Russian. Well, that created all kind of ill will, and we paid dearly for that ever since. And there were many other overthrows and events that took place under the realm of the Dulles brothers, who were big in the CIA, and you know, the Dulles Airport in Virginia is named after one of them. But they viewed the whole world as Russian and anti-Russian. Warsaw Pact and us. And a lot of things they did to set that side really went against the kind of standards and things America was supposed to be about. And you should never go against your standards to do things. That's not right. And we are paying dearly for that having been done. So, and that was under the auspices again of big government. Now, we've had a lot of that kind of stuff happen with these big departments, big agencies, who, you know, become their own entities, who have their own special interest. That's usually the job preservation and power of the people running those agencies. See, the problem with these agencies is they metastasize, they grow. They might have been created for a good purpose, but once that purpose is fulfilled, they're not just going to disband because they're used to the power. They're going to do nothing but grow every chance they get, and that's what all the government agencies have done. Without exception, is grow, get more power, and they take power at the expense of your freedoms all too often. And we have lost a lot of freedoms in this country, but they're worth working to get back. That's why I started the Freedom Restoration Foundation. And that's something we will work on, definitely. And there's things we can work on to pursue dreams, whether it be a hole in the ground with a pole in it, a hole in a pole in the ground, or whatever that dream may be. We have freedom, something you don't have in many, many countries. So much so that people do everything they can to get into this country from countries all over Earth, especially countries where they have the higher degrees of socialism and communism. People are wanting out of those countries. And the people who are most opposed to communism are the people that manage to get out of those countries. So let that be a lesson to our young ones that, you know, there's no mass immigration going into North Korea, into Venezuela, into China. Hong Kongers were not begging to be taken over by the CCP. Taiwan isn't begging China to come in and just take them over. Oh, there must be some reason for that. Oh, it can't possibly be, right? Well, these people live closer to that, and they know what is what. They know what to value. They know how valuable freedoms are. We've had our freedoms for so long, we take them for granted. We forget what it's like to not have freedoms. Think about this. Imagine if you lived in a country where you get accused of something and you just disappear. That's the way it is there. Here, you get accused of something. They have, well, Patriot Act aside, unfortunately. It shouldn't exist. That's a bad name for something that takes away freedoms. But here in this country, you shouldn't. You generally get told what you're charged, and you can fight it in court. You even get a jury. So you're not guilty to prove, you're innocent to proven guilty is a theory. Not so in these other countries. Many times people just disappear. Especially in any one-party system becomes very corrupt very fast. Even in this country, one-party systems tend toward corruption because there's no checks and balances. And communism is by definition a one-party system, because anything the competition does not allow it supposedly to work. So they always wind up as a dictatorship. Socialist countries, socialism has failed itself over and over also. Now, a lot of you want to argue, oh, about all these Western European countries. Well, if you go in and really do your research, you'll find a lot of them abandoned a lot of the tenets of socialism that they started promoting early on, because they found there were a lot of problems with it. So they're not as socialistic as you may think. And we're far more socialistic than you might think. So even though we might have certain things that you consider a pet program, or pet this or pet that, the problem is there's only so much budget that you got. So I'm straying into territory I didn't really want to get into in this video, but budgets are limited. Believe it or not, some people think the government just means infinite money. Well, they can, but they do so at another process called inflation. And we are seeing inflation now because we probably have went a little too far in the past couple of years in what we're spending. We're $29 trillion in debt in the United States. How much of that is yours? Do the math. You know, there's like 300 million people in the United States. And that includes old people and children too. So $29 trillion. How much of that are you going to pay back? Your kids. See what happened? England stalled out for a whole generation. Ever since World War II, England stalled out because they were having to pay back their debt from World War II. They've just finally overcome it. So now you see England coming back. But just now is England coming back. They have just now got out of that debt crisis that they've been in. So, other things. Yeah, we've done some bad things. We had racism early in this country. Definitely, we still got racism today. That's don't deny that. And that's a bad thing. There was slavery early on. And there was mistreatment of the indigenous peoples, the American natives. And those are not good. Those are bad marks on our past. I absolutely grant that. But hopefully we have learned from that. Because think about the principles of this country. The Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal. All men. It does not give any of these guys or those guys. It says all men. That was a very revolutionary term. So you got to look at this whole thing, the whole history of the United States, from a lens of where we came from, what existed before. Before the United States, slavery was the norm all over the world. One people taking over other people was the norm all over the world. And even in our natives right here, the natives that lived right here where I'm standing were not the same natives that were here when DeSoto came through. Why? Because they got taken over and run over by other natives. That happened. So there's a history of one people out displacing another people going way back. So if you want to really determine who's got the rights, you have to go back so far you don't know who the people are anymore. So there's that. There have been a lot of wrongs committed in this world, but two wrongs don't make a right either. So, unfortunately. So, what is it? What do we do from here? Well, we could certainly maybe give the Indians, Native Americans, maybe more access and ownership over federal lands. That might be a good start. You know, they have nation status. They can do stuff in their nations, like open casinos, that they're free and independent to do as they choose, apart from our states. Okay, so that's a start. They get 8A. They get some of the best business preferences in federal contracts, and that's so they're getting some payback. May not be, getting them back where they came from, but there's things that can be done. And there's things being worked on. But here's the thing, guys, back to it. All men are created equal. Now see, now we have CRT. It says, no, all men aren't created equal, because if you're white, you're wrong just from the get-go. See, that's racism too. Yeah, that's just racism too, just another form. Like I said, two wrongs don't make a right. You don't fight hate with hate. And that's what some of this is attempting to do. And all that's going to do is boil more trouble. You got to find a way to come together, to understand each other, and to get along. Fighting hate with hate is wrong. It's not the way to do it. So, but if you look at the history, like I said, the history of this country, it's got some black marks on it. But we're overcoming. Like I said, the lens that the people came from, they came from a world where slavery was a norm. They came from a world where oppression was a norm. And it's taken a few generations for people to outgrow these ideas. It took a little bit for Thomas Jefferson, who wrote those words, to fully appreciate the very words he wrote, because he was a slave owner, and he wrote that all men are created equal. He wrote that as a slave owner. That was a big admission for him, but he did pen it, and then he had to deal with it. And it put him in a moral dilemma. And it took, some time for all that to be worked out. Fortunately, slavery has ended in most of the world. Well, a good bit of the world, but we still have human trafficking. And another thing, a lot of people don't realize that the slave trade was mostly done by Arabic people, trading black people who were traded to them by indigenous tribes that, defeated other indigenous tribes and stuff like that. So there's a whole history of the slave trade that existed outside of the world of the white people. And in fact, the people that lived on the coast of the Mediterranean were afraid to live on the coast because they feared the pirates from the northern coast of Africa would capture them and put them into slavery, as they were so oft to do. So there you go. Slavery is bad any way you slice it or dice it. I'm not making apologies for anybody on that accord. I'm just telling you it is bad. But it was bad, and it still is bad. There is still slavery today in many forms in many parts of the world. But at least a lot of us are working to try to overcome that and stop it. So America isn't unique in having a black mark on it from that, or treatment of native peoples. That's happened throughout history by many peoples, including, I can go all into that, but I don't really want to go into that because that's really not the purpose of this video. All I'm just saying here is a lot of things that we get accused of, a lot of reasons that we're told that we're so awful are things that had to do with people coming out of and emerging from a poor understanding of how we ought to treat each other as human beings. Let's just look at it that way. The world emerged from a poor understanding of how we should treat each other as human beings. And we're coming, hopefully, to a better understanding. I hope we don't lose a grasp of that. Because that's the most important thing, to have peace in the future between peoples of all types. Now, the other thing I was talking about was government. Big agencies. If you look at the world today, a lot of our troubles come from people in power who realize they can have this power by blaming other people and other things and stirring people up against those other people. And pay me and we'll work against those guys over there, work against those guys over there. A lot of people do that. And they get organizations do that. They get power, they get money. Governments do it. That's what Hitler did. Hitler did that. He did it against the Jewish people, unfortunately. And today we've had, the groups in the United States do it. Even Jesse Jackson with his Rainbow Coalition, which is supposed to be inclusive, he had a lot of boycotts and things. So I think he played that card to some degree, at the very least. So a lot of people have played that and they've used that for their own aggrandizement, their own empowerment, unfortunately. Hopefully we can rise above that too. What we've got to come to understand is that while the governments and organizations are pitting us against each other, we're the same inside. What we've got to do is come and deal with each other mano a mano, person to person. And we'll find that down inside, we all want the same kind of things. We want the same kind of things out of life. We're not that different. We all are the same color when you slice us open. Hopefully that don't happen, but we're all the same color inside. We all shake our heads, nod our heads for yes, shake them for no. We all cry and laugh. And all over the world, the word for mother is mama. So we've got more in common than not, by a long shot. And we got to come to terms with that and quit the scrabbling and learn to get along. If the people of the world, just the grassroots people, were to say enough of it and get together and get along, we could end this overlordship and overpressureship that wants to pit us against each other. That's what we need to do. We ain't having no part of that. That's how we need to do it. It's going to take time. And of course, when you got some dictator who wants to dominate the world, that's a little hard to do until that dictator is deflated from his power post, or his post of power. But then again, a lot of our agencies have too much power along the same venue. And that is some of the black mark we've had against our country. But we're not unique. The thing is, people all over the world want to come to America. Why? Because they know they have choices. They have opportunities. If they so choose, they can go into any kind of business that they want to. Be it something on the internet, trading Bitcoin if that's what they're into, stocks, opening a shop, a farm, learning a skill, a trade. We need a lot more tradesmen today, guys. There's so many things that people can do and are free to do here that you don't have that freedom hardly anywhere else. And we're free here somewhat to talk. We still have a bit of a freedom of speech. It's being tried right now. It's being persecuted. Some people think that's a bad thing. Well, when suddenly you can't say what those guys are doing wrong against you over there on the government side, because they're going to wipe you out if you do it, then you're going to wish you had it. Our ancestors realized how valuable this was when they fought so hard and risked their lives and fortunes to establish a free country. What they did was, the Revolutionary War was very revolutionary. And a lot of people have lost sight of that. They've lost sight of what it means. They lost sight that, no, we weren't perfect, but it was a seed. We planted a seed for growing in freedom and and a better ideology. And we made a lot of progress in that era in spite of the faults and tribulations we had along the way. But the bottom line, why not love America? The people. In fact, you can love people all around the world, not just America. But there are good people all over the world. I've always said, every race, every religion, every town and hamlet has got good people in it. Now, there's bad people too. There are bad people everywhere, but there's good people anywhere you go. People give you the shirt off their backs. We just got to learn how to get along person to person again. But a lot of our governments stir people up against each other. They put out propaganda of their people to prepare them for warfare against other people. They dehumanize their enemies. And right now, China's dehumanizing America, unfortunately. Both here domestically and abroad, and especially in their own country. So, yeah, a lot of our young people think this is the worst nation there ever was. Well, go to Venezuela. Maybe you can make things better there. Go on over to China and tell them how you want to be part of it. Just go ahead and go over. Go to Cuba. A lot of people trying to get out of Cuba and China and Venezuela and all these other places. So, I know it's getting dark, guys. Hope y'all can still see me. But I got to tell you, we can make this world a better place. I thoroughly believe it. I believe in freedom. I think freedom is a great gift, and we need to really keep the freedom up. I know I'm getting faint here, but this is an important message. I just wanted to get it out here before the day was over. Freedom is precious. And that is the final thing that the United States can offer, that America can offer, that this dream can offer, is that we can keep striving for freedom. We may have to relearn it. Even if the country breaks apart, we can still work it apart. Maybe we stay together. I hope we can find a way to do that. And hope we don't have a civil war. It's the worst thing you could ever imagine. Some people say, we need a civil war. And I'm hearing on both sides. I'm hearing people on the left call for it. I don't realize how they'd be obliterated if that happened. But we don't need that. We need to learn to get along. We need to learn to make peace. We need to learn love. It's getting dark out here, but like I tell you guys, as light dispels darkness, love dispels hate. Go out and shine your love light in the world. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, subscribe to my channel, bang the update notification bell, and click all. And support this channel, check the links below. I'm in a garden, and right now you can go to True Leaf Market and buy your seeds now. Good time to get them, because we don't know what's going to be available this spring with all these kind of shutdowns and supply chain issues we've been having, with the potential for the bug to cause even more shutdowns. We just don't know, guys. So what I tell you is go out and get your stuff now. Go to True Leaf Market and order all the seeds you can, and go to prepwithgreg.com. Special there, $100 off the 3-month supply of food. So, and again, guys, I think we can pull through this, and we can make, whether you love this country or not, we can make it a country that everybody will love. I believe if we really just work together. That's what I believe. Let's come together, let's work together, let's rebuild this country, and let's do it on the basis of freedom. Freedom is what matters most, and love for fellow man. Thank you for watching.